backup and the file or file group backup. So these are the backups that are available in SQL, and among these four, the full, differential and transaction log backups are very frequently used by the DBAs. The file or file group, the last type of backup, is very rarely used. It's like as we know that we can create file groups or we can create NDF files, right? So you still have an option where you can take backups at file level or at file groups level. So let us try to understand what a full backup is. So when you issue a full backup, the first thing we need to understand is there is a mandatory in SQL that you need to start, or the first you need to take full backup of a database. You cannot directly go and take a differential backup, or you cannot go and directly take a transaction log backup. You have to first take full database backup. Then after, depending upon the recovery models of the database, you can go for other types of backups. So the first thing we need to remember is always we need to take full backup of a database. And what exactly a full backup mean? A full backup is nothing but as it names, like it takes the complete backup of your database. It's something like the dump, the entire database dump into a backup file, and we give an extension to that backup file, and that extension is .bak. When we take a full backup of a database, that database backup, we give an extension called .bak, and the next is a differential database backup. As it sounds, it's a differential. So let's assume I have got a database of 5 GB. So as it was said mandatory that the first time I have to take a full backup of the database. So I have taken a full backup of the database. So my backup size would be almost same, the 5 GB, because I'm taking complete database backup. But the other good feature starting from 2008, SQL 2008, is a compressed backup. We have got a new feature in SQL starting from 2008. It's a compressed backup where you can compress your backup file. So it brings you down to 30% of your total size. It's an approximate size. If your database is around 10 GB, and if you take a compressed backup, your backup size would be around maybe 2 GB or 2.5 GB somewhere. So it's a good option. The backup will get faster and you can still save space on your drive. So the differential backup is something like whatever the differences that were happen, or whatever the changes I mean inserts or updates or deletes that were happen on your database since your last full backup will be captured by differential backup. So I take an example that I have a 10 GB of database and have taken a full backup on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock, and on Monday, if I issue a differential backup on Monday, maybe morning 9 o'clock, on Monday morning 9 o'clock, if I issue a differential backup, that differential backup will hold the changes that were happened from last full backup. So when was my last full backup happened? It was Sunday 6 p.m. So from Sunday 6 p.m. to till Monday 9 a.m., what are the changes were happened on the database? Those changes will be recorded in differential backup. And now I take a second differential backup at afternoon 2 o'clock on Monday. On same day, I take a second differential backup at afternoon 2 o'clock. And as per the definition, the differential backup will contain all the changes that were happened since your last full backup. So my second PM differential backup will contain the changes from my last full backup. So it is again Sunday 6 p.m. So from Sunday 6 p.m. till the next day 2 p.m. what are the changes will happen? Those changes will be recorded in your differential backup, which was taken at 2 o'clock. So that's the behavior of the differential backup. And how exactly SQL knows that, okay, these pages were changed inside your database? It is with the help of DCM page. Every database will have 7 to 8 different pages inside it. Apart from data pages, we know that each data page is of 8 KB and collection of 8 pages is 64 KB, which is called one extent. So in the same way, in every database we have got other pages, and one among that is DCM page, differential change map. This was controlled by SQL. So what it does is, once you take a full backup on Sunday 6 p.m., from then onwards, if there were any changes happen on your database, your SQL server will write an entry in the DCM page saying that so and so page number was updated, or so and so new page has been added, or so and so page got deleted. So this information will be recorded in DCM page. So when you run the differential backup on next day at whatever time, the differential backup will go and check the DCM page first. From there, it gets the data about what all the pages that were changed. Okay, sure, Danesh, I will repeat it again. Differential backup is something that holds the changes that were happened since your last full
Hi,
backup.
hi,
Yes,
hi,
Danesh.
Vish. Sorry for interruption.
Yep.
Actually, I think somewhere in a couple of time in between your voice getting off.
Is it?
Yep.
I increased my volume, so how is it now? Do you still have issues?
Yeah. Now it's fine. But in between it's happening continuously. It's 3 to 4 times it has happened.
Okay, give me a second.
Hello.
Hello, is it fine now?
Yeah. It's fine now.
Yep, thank you. So differential backup is something that holds the information or the changes that were happened in your database since last full backup. So once you take a full backup, then onwards, what are the changes that were happened on your database will be written, the page information, the pages that were changed in your database, those pages information will be written in your DCM page inside the database. DCM indicates differential changed map. And when you start taking the differential backup, then the differential backup will first go and check the DCM page to see if there are any pages that got updated. So based upon the information available on the DCM page, your differential backup will record all the changes that were happened on the database. So differential backup, we can call them as cumulative. So they keep on increasing. Let's say I have got a database of 10 GB and have taken a full backup at Sunday 6 a.m. and on Monday 9 a.m. have taken differential backup, and the changes from 6 a.m. Sunday to 9 a.m. Monday, let's assume a user has inserted 100 MB of data. Either it be inserted or updated or deleted. So the overall changes were 100 MB on the database. So when you take a backup, the differential backup at 9 o'clock, your differential backup size would be around somewhere 100 MB. And At 2 o'clock on the same day, 2 p.m., when you take a differential backup 2, the second differential backup, maybe the users might updated another 200 MB of data from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., those 4 or 5 hours in between. So the second differential backup would be around 300 MB. So overall, the differential backups are cumulative. They keep on increasing and it depends upon the data that got changed on your database. So any questions on differential backup or full backup? In our next slides, I'm gonna show you some PowerPoint presentation so that it makes a bit clear for you. But for now, do you have any questions about a full backup or differential backup? Navnita, I didn't understand your question. Where do they saved differential backups? You mean where do we backup or where do we write those backups? If that is a question, we do keep all our backups in some network location. And the third type of backup is a transaction log backup. So the transaction log backup, what it contains. So the transaction log backup contains the changes that were happened since your last successful backup. Either it might be full or log itself. So just to try to make a difference between the differential backup and transaction log backup. Differential backup is something, it holds the changes that were happened since your last full backup. But coming to the transaction log backup, does everyone have the same issue? Dinesh, everyone is fine with my voice. So can you please check at your end? So the transaction log backup is something like it will record all the changes that were happened since the last successful backup. I'm not stressing a full here. I'm just saying its last successful backup. So it might be a full or it might be a log. So I can give an example. I have taken a full backup today morning at 9 o'clock. Okay. Then after at 10 o'clock, I have taken a log backup. So the first log backup at 10 o'clock will contain the information or the changes that will happen from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. So the 1 hour changes will be recorded in your first log backup at 10 o'clock. And let's say I have taken a second log backup at 11 o'clock. So that 11 o'clock log backup will contain the changes from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It is because my last successful backup was the log backup and that was happened at 10 o'clock. So when I issue a next log backup at 11 o'clock, it gonna go back and check when was the last backup happened, and it is at 10 o'clock and it was log. So it just starts recording all the information from 10 till 11. And the last step of backup, having said that, you can take the backups at file level. If you have a database and the database has got files like MDF, LDF is sitting in one drive and your NDF files are sitting in other drive. In that case, if you want to back up only MDF and LDF files, then you can go for file or file group backups. But it's very rare we'll be using the file or file group. So majority of our time will be spending on full backup, differential backup and log backup. So full backup backs complete database and backs up original files, objects, data, whatever you have in your database will be backed up by the full backup, and it even backs up the transaction log as well, the data inside your LDF file. So I have a scenario here. It's like every week. I mean, I mentioned it's every week, but just assume it's every day. Take it as every day. So every day I have got a full backups that are running for on my database. And if this is a scenario, how do you restore? As per my scenario, every day I'm taking a full backup of my database. So on Monday, I'd be taking a full backup. On Tuesday, second full backup. Wednesday, third full backup. And Thursday, fourth full backup. So this way you keep on taking full backups every day on your database. Now let's assume the database got crashed on one day in the week, probably in Wednesday or on Thursday, the database got crashed. How do we recover? How do we choose what backup to restore the database? So here I've got full backup for Sunday. After backup on Wednesday, do we still need Monday and Tuesday's backup? It was a question from Nagwender. I'm just trying to understand it. After backup of on Wednesday, do we still need Monday and Tuesday backup? Obviously, what we do is we do keep the backups for a specific retention. It depends upon organization to organization. In my organization, we keep it for 30 days. It is because even though you have Wednesday's backup, there are some chances where a user might have accidentally deleted a table on Wednesday morning. So in that case, whatever the backup you have got from Wednesday evening doesn't work. You need to go back to Tuesday's night backup or Wednesday's night backup. So it is always good to keep a backups for certain period. Did I answer your question, Nagwinder? Okay. Going back to our scenario, I have got a full backup. This is a backup file from Sunday, and have got a full backup that have taken on Monday, and the same way on Tuesday, and the same way on Wednesday. Now on Thursday, I have noticed my database got crashed. On Thursday, when I come into the office, I notice the database is crashed. When I say crashed, it's nothing but the database is corrupted. So in that case, you are asked to restore the database to a latest state. It's something like you are asked to restore a database to previous state. So in that case, my question to you all is, what backup should I use to have a minimum data loss? What backup can I use? Have got backups from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. These are all full backups. So what backup do I need to use to have a minimum data loss? Everyone said right except Navnita. That should be, we are talking about the only full backup. We are not yet into differential. We are only talking about full. So the answer is the latest full backup, and that was taken on Wednesday. So we restore our database with Wednesday's full backup, again with an option called with recovery. So please do remember these words. When I say with recovery, that option will bring your database into online and accessible. So while you restore any database, you are provided with three options. One is with recovery. So what it does is, if you think, okay, this is the only backup I have to restore, and I don't have any further backups on top of it. And once I restore the Wednesday's backup, the database should come online and accessible to the users. So if that is the case, you need to choose option called with recovery. So blindly remember that if you choose with recovery option, your database will come online. And next we have talked about the differential backups. So on what cases we use differential backups? I give you a real scenario. I have a database of 1 TB. I have a database of 1 TB. So for a 1 TB database, if I take a full backup, it's gonna take around maybe 15 hours at least, 12 to 15 hours for full backup. And my backup size would be around, even though I take a compressed backup, the backup size would be around 300 to 400 GB. So in this scenario, it is not good for me to take full backups every day. It is because backup itself is taking 10 to 15, 12 to 15 hours. And I can't keep load on my server for such a long time. So to avoid this case, what we do is we take full backup once in a week, maybe on Saturday, where you don't have any load on the servers. So on weekend, once in a week, we take a full backup, and then after, probably for every day, you go for a differential backup. On Saturday, when you take a full backup, yes, obviously it will take 12 to 15 hours and it occupy around 300 to 400 GB with compress option. And then after, on next day, instead of taking a full backup, if you run a differential backup, then the only changes that will happen from Saturday night till Sunday night, those changes will be taken into consideration for differential backup. In the same way, when you take a second differential backup on Monday, then the Monday differential backup will contain the Sunday changes and as well as Monday changes. So in the same way for Tuesdays, it contains the last 3 days changes. So if you notice that way, the differential 1, 2, 3, 4, these will be in increasing order, the size. So by using the differential backup, you can save time and you can also save the space. So here on Sunday, I would be taking a full backup, and on Monday, I would be taking the first differential backup. So this first differential backup will contain the changes from Sunday to Monday. In the same way, when I take the second differential backup on Tuesday, the Tuesday differential backup will contain the changes from Sunday till Tuesday. And the Wednesday differential backup contains the changes from Sunday to Wednesday. It is because the differential backup has a mechanism to record all the changes that were happened since your full backup. So my full backup was happened on Sunday. So then onwards, what are the changes were happened, that will be captured by my differential backup. In the same way for Thursday and for Friday. So here you can see the size is gradually increasing day by day. It is because the next coming differential backup will contain all the changes from the last full backup till the time you take the differential. And then after, again, on the next week, on next Sunday, you take a full backup, and from there again the differential backups per every day it will start. So assume this is my scenario, and now my question is, on Sunday I have got a full database backup. On Monday I have taken first differential backup. On Tuesday I have taken a second differential backup, and on Thursday I have taken third differential backup. And now the scenario is the database got crashed on Thursday morning, and you are requested to restore the database with minimum data loss. So now can you tell me what backups should I use and in what sequence should I use to recover my database? Yeah, Ishwar, Venkat, and Nagwendar, you are right. So what we'll be using is, the first we need the full backup. That's the first thing. Okay, we restore a full backup from Sunday, and then we know that the differential backup 3 contain all the changes from Sunday till Wednesday. So you don't need to restore Monday backup, then Tuesday's backup. It's not required. All those data is still available on your Wednesday file. So what we do is, when we restore a full backup from Sunday, we choose an option called with no recovery. I repeat it again. In this scenario, I would be restoring Sunday's full backup with no recovery option. It is because after restoring the full backup, I have to restore a Wednesday's differential backup. So because of that, I will be choosing with no recovery option. So when I restore Sunday's full backup with no recovery option, the database will go into restoring mode. It will not come online. It will go into restoring mode. That indicates you are still required to restore additional backups on it. And once I restore the Sunday's full backup with no recovery, then I will be restoring Wednesday's differential backup with recovery. Why with recovery now? It's because this is my last backup I'm going to restore on the database, and once it is done, I'm expecting my database to come online and accessible. So if you use with recovery, your database will come online. If you use with no recovery, your database will go into restoring mode, and it will allow you to restore any further backups on it. So any questions? I see a question from Nagwinder. In real time, do organizations tell DBA to do what type of backups, or it's up to DBA? There are certain cases where organizations require your experience. They will ask you to tell what's the best backup strategy. What do you suggest? And most probably before you join in any organization, they already have all this set up. So what we do is we usually support them. But there are certain cases where they might ask your experience or your views or your thoughts about the backup. And having said that, if you really think your database is very huge, maybe 1 TB or 2 TB, in that case you can't just go and take a full backup every day, right? So in that case, to make it a bit faster, we choose a full backup once in a week and a differential backup maybe once in a day or once in 12 hours. So it actually depends upon the size of the database you are handling. So any more questions regarding the differential backup scenario or restore scenario? But please do remember, with recovery or with no recovery, the options you need to specify when you are given a restore scenario in any interview. They expect this parameter from you. So is it clear for everyone? Danesh, Ishwar. I see a question from Ishwar. For OLTP, when do we need to do full backup? Again, it depends upon the size of the database. If your database is, let's say your database is around 50 GB, my choice is go for full backup every day because it doesn't hurt your database or your server. 50 GB is very, very small. And again, if it is your maybe 2 TB or 3 TB, then you need to think of it. So it actually depends upon how much time you're putting load on your server to backup. And we'll go on to the third type of backup, which is a transactional log backup. And before you take either differential backup or transaction log backup, full backup is required. So we are a bit familiar about that, and backs up all the database changes from the last backup. And what are the backup you have taken previously? From then onwards, the changes that were happened on your database will be recorded in the log file. Per hour, how much data we can full backup? There's a question from Venkat. It actually depends where you are writing the backup files and how speed your network is. If you write your backups on the drive where your database hosts, it's obviously very fast. But if you are asked to write a backup file onto a network location, then it will depend on the network speed and the storage configuration, what type of storage you are using. But for a rough figure, I can give you is like 50 GB per hour. And the last point, if you look over here, truncates the transaction log. Don't misunderstand it. What I mean is, I have taken a full backup at 9 o'clock. Just forget about the differential backup for the time being. We just concentrate on full and transaction log to make ourselves clear. So let's say I have taken a full backup at 9 o'clock today, and at 10 o'clock I have taken a log backup, the first log backup. So the first log backup, what it contains is the changes from 9 to 10, the 1 hour changes. And once the first log backup completed successfully, the SQL, what it does is all the committed transactions that were in your LDF file will be cleared. And then from 10 to 11, what are the changes that will happen? Maybe few users who might have ran certain commands to update the data, maybe at 10 hours, 15 minutes. So that information, we know that information will be initially stored in your LDF file, the log file, right? So at 11 o'clock, when you take a log backup, it reads all the data from your LDF file, and once the log backup completed successfully, your SQL will clear all those committed data from the log file, and it makes some room for the next coming transactions. So that is the reason I have told you if you keep your database in full recovery model. What happens? If you keep your database in full recovery model, each and every activity on the database will be written into the log file. So in that case, it is advised to take regular log backups, because these log backups take responsibility of clearing the committed data inside your LDF file. If you don't take log backups, what happens? Your changes will keep on writing on your LDF file, and at one point your LDF file will fill up and you run out of disk space. So one thing you need to remember is, if your database is in full recovery model, then please do advise to take frequent log backups. The only option that you can control your log file, the LDF file, is with the help of log backups. So I've got a full backup that is on from Sunday, and have taken a log backup from Monday. I'm not using a differential backup here. I'm using the combination of full and log backups. So I've taken a full backup on Sunday, and then on Monday I've taken log backup, and on Tuesday I've taken a second log backup. So the first log backup that I've taken on Monday contains the information from Sunday to Monday, and the Tuesday's backup contains the changes from Monday to Tuesday. Unlike in differential, it used to contain the changes from last full backup. But coming to the transaction log, it contains the changes from last successful backup. Either it might be full or log. So here, when I take a log backup on Tuesday, before Tuesday, on Monday, there was a log backup happen. So from Monday, what are the changes happened that was initially written into your LDF file, right? So only those changes will be recorded on your Tuesday's log backup. So in the same way, on Wednesday, if you notice here, the size of the backup file on Wednesday got a little down compared to Tuesday. It is because on Monday, there might have more changes happen. In between Monday to Tuesday, there might have more changes happen. That could be the reason my log backup was a bit more in size. But the same way, from Tuesday to Wednesday, the changes were a bit less. So the size was less when compared to the Tuesdays. So in the same way, on Thursday, I've got another log backup, and the Thursday's log backup contains the information, the changes that will happen from Wednesday to Thursday. In the same way for Friday and the Saturday. So obviously we know that from Friday evening to Saturday evening, so Saturday is a non-business day, so we expect very less changes. So that's the reason my backup is very tiny when compared to all the days in the week. So again on Sunday, I'll be taking the full backup of my database. So this way, you usually take backups. Have taken an example of per day log backup, but in real scenario, you might take per hour log backup. If you think if your business accepts only 1 hour data loss in case of crash. If you go back to my previous scenario for full backup or for differential backup, we have restored. Let me go back and show you. In this case, if you notice here, the overall data loss is approximately 1 day. The maximum data loss would be 1 day because my database got crashed on Thursday. Let's say everyday backups were happening at 6 p.m. in the evening. And I have noticed at 5:45 p.m. the database got crashed on Thursday. So in that case, the changes or the information from Wednesday 6 p.m. till Thursday 5:45 p.m. have lost those data, right? Did you got my logic? So overall, the maximum data loss is 1 day here. So to avoid or to bring it down, maybe your business doesn't accept 1 day data loss. So in that case, we depend on the log backups. We depend on the log backups and we schedule the log backups to run for every 4 hours or for every 1 hour. If you think that your database is very critical and your business doesn't accept a data loss of more than 30 minutes, so in that case you schedule your log backups to run for every 30 minutes so that if something goes wrong, you can recover your database with 30 minutes, the max of 30 minutes data loss. So depending upon the database criticality, we choose the backup strategy. So in production, obviously all the databases are critical. So in my environment, it's like we run log backups per every hour. So in case of any disaster, my business accepts 1 hour data loss. So that is the reason I have scheduled my backups, the log backups to run for every 1 hour. So I've got a restore scenario here from the log backups. So I've got a full backups from Sunday and log backup 1 from Monday and log backup 2 from Tuesday and the log backup 3 from Thursday. If you notice the size of the backups for logs, it varies. On Monday it was a medium size, on Tuesday it was a bit huge, and on Wednesday it was a bit tiny. So it gives you a feeling like the changes will happen accordingly. So here, the same scenario on Thursday, the database got crashed. So can you now tell me what backups should I use and what are the options, whatever I said, with recovery or with no recovery? Perfect. All of you are very close to it. So the first thing what I do is have to restore a full backup, right? But with what option? With recovery or with no recovery? Once I restore a full backup, I have to restore the log backups on top of it. So that is the reason I have to choose with no recovery while restoring a full backup. So while restoring full backup, I will be using with no recovery. And then I will be restoring Monday's log backup again with no recovery. It is because I have Tuesday backup and Wednesday backup to be restored. So next is I'll be restoring Tuesday's backup again with no recovery. And then when I restore Wednesday's log backup, I will be choosing with recovery option so that my database will come online. So I have given a rough figures like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but in real time, you will be taking backup once in a day, and for every hour, you schedule log backups. So is it clear for everyone? This is a question. Choosing with or without recovery is in hands of DBA, right? Yes. If you have provided with only one backup and you were asked to restore it, then obviously we'll go with recovery option. And if you are provided with a full backup followed with differential backups followed with the log backups, then you will be choosing with no recovery all the backups, but when you restore the last backup, you will be choosing with recovery option. And the last one is a database file or file groups. Having said that, it's very, very rare we use these types of backups, but normally it could be used for very large databases or for customized requirements. Backup the database files individually, like if you only want to backup your NDF files, you can do that, and ensures that all database files and file groups are backed up. But this is very tricky. That is the reason we usually not depend on this for our day-to-day activities. And it is also required to take a transaction log backup along with your file or file groups. So let us try to have a demo how to take backups of the database. You can use either two ways, like the T-SQL commands or the graphical user interface. Let me show you. Yeah, thank you, Ishwar. I will make a note of it. So you mean when we switch the recovery models, how the log backups fail, right? Probably today we still got around 10 minutes of time, so I don't think we covered the log backups, but I'm gonna show you the demos of the full backup and then the differential backups. So here I've got three user databases. So let me okay, I've got AdventureWorks, which has got some tables and data in it. So what I do is to take a full backup of this database using a GUI, you need to right click on the database and then you go to tasks and then you see an option called backup, select it. And here just you can go through this one. It's like database, what database you are backing up and what is the recovery model of this database. You can see the recovery model of this database is simple. As the recovery model is simple, so you cannot take log backups. So that is the reason the log backup is not displayed. So I'm taking a full backup, so select the full backup, and the next option is copy only backup. What is the use of this option? So going back to the log backups. Log backups usually runs with a mechanism of LSN sequence. LSN indicates log sequence numbers. So based upon the log sequence number, your log backups will run and the same thing it will be restored. If you just go back to our previous presentation, the restore scenario for transaction log backup is have restored a full backup and then have restored Monday's transaction log, then Tuesday's, then Wednesday. You cannot restore something like a full backup from Sunday, that's all right. You cannot go for Wednesday's log backup first and then Tuesday's backup and then Monday's backup. You cannot restore it. Even though you try to restore directly the Tuesday's backup, your SQL will throw an error saying that there should be a latest backup available. I mean, there should be one more backup, log backup that is available. So please restore that first. So you have to restore the log backups in sequential order. Can we see LS and log sequence number? Yes, we need to browse to the system tables to look at the log sequence number. But definitely I'm gonna show you, I intentionally I try to create some errors so that you can be aware of those LSN numbers. Internally SQL records all the log sequence numbers inside it. So based on those log sequence number, it keep tracking the log backups. So if you don't want to, maybe another way, the copy only backup, if you choose this option, the check mark, you can take a full backup of a database without disturbing the log sequence number. So usually what happens is whenever you take a full backup, the full backup will reset the log sequence number. So every time you run a full backup from there onwards, the log sequence number will be reset and the next log backups will follow. So this log copy only backup will be used to back up a database that is participating in log shipping technology. That is an high availability. We discuss that in our next classes. So the log shipping technology works based upon LSNs, the log backups. So if you were asked to take a ad hoc full backup of a database that is already participating in log shipping, and you don't know that database is participating in log shipping, and if you just go and take a full backup of a database without this option, your log shipping will break. So the benefit of using this copy only option is you can take full backup at any time without resetting the log sequence number. That is the only advantage of copy only. So you might get interview question, how do I take a full backup without disturbing the log sequence numbers? On the other hand, there is a database that is involved in log shipping. So how do I take a full backup of the database without disturbing the log shipping? So the answer is very simple, using copy only option. So using copy only option, you can take full backup without resetting the log sequence numbers. And then we'll be taking a database backups, and the next is a just description for your backup file, and the backup set will expire. By default it's set to 0 days. So if you want to expire your backup files after certain 1 week or 10 days, you can make this option here. And the next is where you want to back up your database. So the options are either disk or onto tape. So I'll be choosing the disk option, and by default it picks up the root directory, but I don't want to go in depth into all these folders to browse my backup file. So I remove this and I want to write backups onto maybe onto a location where I can easily browse. Maybe on D, I need to create a new folder on D. I will create a folder called backups. I need to close and reopen it so that it gets refreshes. Okay, backups, and provide the backup file name. So what database I'm backing up? It's AdventureWorks. So I name it as AdventureWorks. And the extension should be BAK for full backup, and the same for differential backup as well. The extensions for full and differential backup, we use the extension as .bak, and for transaction log backups, the extension we use .trn. So this is my full backup, so I've named it as adventureworks.bak. Then click OK and OK again. On left hand side, you can go to options. The first option is overwrite media. So I see a question. In real time, where will be the destination for backup? For example, where do you save backups in your organization? If that is for me, we save the backups in network location, in network shared folder. And it is not advised to keep the backups on server itself. It doesn't make sense to keep our backups just beside the databases. It is because if you keep that way, if you keep your backups on same drive where your database has, imagine your server got crashed or your storage got corrupted, then you will be losing your database files along with your backups. So that is the reason it is always advised to keep your backups on a different location. So the options here are overwrite media, backup to the existing media set. If you have got already a file with name adventureworks.bak on your drive, so you can still append this content, this backup to that file. And next is overwrite. It will just overwrite the files on the destination before it start taking the backups. And the next is check media sum, media set name and backup set expiration. So in general tab, we have seen the setting for expiry, right? So if you're trying to append this backup to an existing file, so before you append it, better we need to check that backup file is still valid and it's not expired. So that you can check here. You can provide the backup media name and you can check that. And if you want to write to a new media set is nothing but you can treat it as maybe a case cover which you use to store your all CDs, DVDs. In the same way, media set is nothing but a container where you can store all your backups. But from appearance, that container will be viewed as single file. But inside that single file, you can have number of backups. And we don't normally use these two options. And the next is the reliability. The first option is verify backup when finished. So if you check this option, your SQL Server, what it does is once the backup completed, your SQL Server will verify whether that backup is healthy or not. There are certain chances that the backup might complete successfully, but because of your disk errors, the backup file might get corrupt. So to just make sure, once the backup completes, your SQL Server will go and do a quick check on the backup to confirm your backup is healthy. And the next is perform checksum before writing to media. So the first option what it does is verify backup when finished is Once the backup completed, your SQL Server will check that backup file to see if there are any corruptions. And the second option is something your SQL Server will check your database before starting the backup. Before starting the backup, your SQL will check your database to see if there are any corruptions inside your database. If there are any corruptions, then it doesn't make sense for us to go and take that backup of that corrupted database. So we need to know and we need to take a healthy backup from a database. And the third is a continue on error. Obviously, we don't choose this option at all. We don't want to continue our backups even in case of issues. So I'll go back to general and then click on OK. Now it start taking the backup onto the location. So you can go to the backups and you see the backups is running. It's not yet completed, but it just started. You can see the percentage over here. It's just finished. As these are very tiny backups, so it finished very quickly. But in real time, if your databases are around 100 GB or 200 GB, then obviously it's gonna take time. So this is my backup. Oh, I forgot to show you the compress option. So I'm just going back to the backup page on general. So you can see here the set backup compression, and you have got options compressed backup. If you take a compressed backup, let's say the first backup I have not taken a compressed, but still I need to check whether I have enabled that option on the instance. No, the compressed backup is not enabled by default. So whatever the backup I have taken earlier, it is non-compressed backup, and the size you can see around 194 MB. You don't see much difference because the database is very tiny, but in real time it makes a lot of difference. So I remove and take another full backup and to D. Now I use AdventureWorks 1.bak. And now this time I go with compress option, compress backup, and it's done. You can go to the file and check the size. The compressed backup size is 45 MB, and without compress the backup size is 194 MB. So this is the benefit you're gonna get using the compressed backup, and this is how we take a full backup. So in order to take a backup, the full backup using a script. What is a script? So anytime when you use the GUI, you will find a script option. So I'm going back to the same wizard to back up my database. So once you select all the options, on top you see script. So you can click on drop down and you can you can select script action to new query window. So it will script out everything to your new query window, and you can just run this query to take a backup. So what I do is I just rename the file because already I have adventureworks.1, so I make it as adventureworks2.bak. And if I re-execute this, it does take the backup. So you can see the backup is running. And now I haven't used a compressed option. So still the backup is around 194 MB. So if you look at the syntax over here, you can skip all these options. It's not required. This should be more than enough to take a full backup. Backup database name. To where you are backing up, it is disk. So specify to disk followed with the path. So you can use this simple syntax to back up your database. However, you have got an option to take backups using GUI, but it is always good practice to know and understand the queries as well. So I would like to stop here. Any questions? What is that question? Do DBA manage the space in the drive because the transaction log file for every hour will take a lot of space, right? Yes, obviously we need to manage the disk space. When I say manage, it's not your responsibility to add more space on the drive or reduce the space, but we need to watch, we need to monitor our database, sorry, the drives. We need to monitor or we need to watch the drives on the server, and if you think the drives are running out of space, we need to reach out the storage team in the organization, and probably they will add more disk space on the drives, or you need to think of reducing your retention. So any more questions? I request everyone to please try to take a full backups of your database by using the scripts or by using the GUI. And if you have any questions, please drop me an email and I'll get back to you. Probably tomorrow we'll discuss about the combinations of the full and differential and the combination of the full and log backups. So okay guys, I'm closing the call now. Thank you very much and we'll be back tomorrow.